Hey, this is Luis Cuevas from Casa Cigars, and you're listening to the Cigar Pulpit, and clearly you must be slumming it today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm the Bishop of the Burn, Nick, and with me, as always,
it's Gator.
And on the line, we have a special guest. We have Luis Cuevas Jr. He is the owner and president of Casa Cuevas Cigars. How are you, sir?
I am super well, and even better than now that I'm on the air with you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So first of all, thank you so much for sending us some cigars. You sent us a very nice sampler pack so that we could check out your line a little bit. And so Jeff and I are going to be smoking a couple of those cigars here today. I have the Habano Robusto, and Jeff has got the
Connecticut Robusto.
So
awesome.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about these cigars as we get ready to go ahead and do our light and cut and all that?
Sure, absolutely. Starting with the Connecticut, it's obviously an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper. It's got a Dominican binder. And inside, you've got a blend of Nicaraguan, Dominican, and a little bit of Colombian fillers. The Habano is a little more complex. Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, also a Dominican binder, and a lower binder. But the filler's got Pennsylvania, Nicaragua, Colombia, and Dominican Republic. So you got 5 countries in that one. And the Habano seems to have been a tremendous hit, and that Connecticut is really a smoker's Connecticut. It's not a boring Connecticut. There's something to it, which is what we were aiming for. And I hope you guys enjoy it.
Perfect. I'm
Good
sure
stuff.
we will.
Give me a second here to get mine out of the cellophane.
Oh, God. This is the other thing he likes to do. He likes to make a very giant show about getting... You're done. Come on. Okay.
Got it.
Okay, good.
That was really in there.
It really wasn't. Oh, Lord. Well, so it is now time for us to cut the cigar, and the ceremonial cut is brought to you by
Riverman Cigar Company, Crestwood, Missouri.
Crestwood, Missouri. So our man Dan over there at Riverman Cigar Company, he's been going through the motions with everything with COVID, man. You know, St. Louis County still requiring some small capacity groups and everything, but he's got that 1,500 square foot covered patio out front, where everyone can social distance, sit outside. And let me tell you guys, if you're living in the St. Louis area right now, it's like 80 degrees and gorgeous out. So it's a good day to sit out in front of Riverman Cigar Company
smoking
and
weather.
Pass some time. So he's got everything for every budget. He's got that $3 to $100 range. He's got that collection of cultivated budget cigars, you know, the premium bundle cigars that he's got there, all the way up to that $100 Sake Unicorn. So for those of you who want to do that.
And everything in between.
And everything in between. So for those of you who live in the St. Louis area, swing by Riverman Cigar Company. If you're swinging through the St. Louis area, swing by Riverman Cigar Company. And if you don't live in St. Louis,
and you don't have a brick and mortar that you call home,
feel free to call Dan at Riverman Cigar Company, and he can put in a nice mail order for you whenever you want. So with that, It's time that we go ahead and cut the cigar. So
using my Swedish cutter today from Bjorn.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you, Bjorn.
I have eyes on the cutter, Bjorn. Eyes are on the cutter. So, yes.
I lost our friend Bjorn's cutter for a while and found it, and now we kind of keep it close.
Yes, sir. So we have a listener, Bjorn, from Sweden, and he was kind enough to send us some cutters from his shop there, or the brick and mortar that he frequents there in Sweden. And Jeff lost his for quite a while.
I did.
And so now every time he uses it, I always have to tell Bjorn that I actually have eyes on the cutter, and that he's not just faking it.
Bjorn knows I'm not making it up that way.
Making it up. So
There you go.
So what are you getting on your cold draw there, Nicholas?
Okay, so well, you've already done yours, so why don't you start while I do mine?
I'm drinking coffee, so that may throw me off a little bit.
Well, I had a smoothie from Smoothie King on the way over here, so that's kind of throwing me off too.
I'll tell you what, Jeff, who's smoking that Connecticut coffee, is perfect with it.
Beautiful.
Perfect with it.
Well, there you go. So what are you getting then, Jeff?
It's got a sweetness to it. Let me do the cold retro. For what it's worth, we do. I have patented the cold retro hail, and so Mr. Cuevas, I've done that. And oddly enough, I'm getting lots of inquiries about buying the patent from me. I don't know.
Oh,
if you knew
really?
that, Nick.
No,
yeah.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, there's a gentle sweetness on the cold draw and the cold retro
It's
hail.
kind of similar with the Habano. It's almost like a little like tart raisiny kind of thing going on. Like it's sweetness, but like just a
You
smidge.
never get raisins on a cigar.
I'm
always the one.
raisins before. Thank
Always
you.
the one that gets raisins or fruit.
I'm lighting up my cigar.
He's just so bitter today.
Anyway,
he was running late, so he's all mad.
I was caught behind a box truck. It wouldn't move. It was going very, very slow, and I had no opportunity to pass. Anyway.
I have to call him out when he's late because I'm always the one that's late.
So, Louis, you
Yeah.
you are fourth generation in the cigar industry, correct?
Yeah, I am.
Can you go through your family's history a little bit there?
Absolutely. Great-grandfather, Spaniard, leaves Spain when he was, I think, a very young man, 13, 14, winds up in the westernmost portion of Cuba, Pinal del Rio, which is tobacco country. He was a farmer by trade, and his family was a farmer by trade, or at least my family is a farmer by trade in Spain. So it seemed like a natural fit to go and land in tobacco country and just continue working in that industry, meaning farming, but it was tobacco. Then my grandfather took the business and really grew it quite substantially. In 1959, Fidel, the idiot, shows up and everything gets confiscated. And the only good thing that came out of that is we wound up in this amazing country. So we fled.
And you were referring to Castro there. I just want to point that out for the listeners.
Yeah, I think they.
Yeah.
You think they all got that?
I'm
Okay.
pretty sure they all got that.
I mean, I got it. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure your listeners got all that. So
It wasn't Fidel Smith.
No. Or Fidel Gonzalez. It was
Exactly.
God.
So we wound up in the States, and my father started a different type of business here in the States, was successful with it. And one of his brothers went to the DR after he left. He stopped here in the States first, and went to the DR. And then between the two of them, they started a cigar factory in the 80s. And by 97, my dad was 100% over there. In the meantime, we'd go back and forth. He was sort of financing the thing. In 1997, when the boom was going, he went all in. And they've been there ever since. So my uncle and my dad went their separate ways. My uncle no longer has the factory that he had. My dad certainly still does. And in 2009, I joined up 100% with my dad. So I've been at this now for 11 years, 100%. And now my son is helping us out here on a part-time basis. He's here in the office with me right now. And so, it's fifth generation and sort of going all over the place. If you look at the bands that you guys have from the cigars I sent, you'll see four stars there underneath the logo itself on the band.
Yes, sir.
And did I send you guys some Reserva as well? The blue.
Yeah.
Did you get the blue ones as well? Okay.
Yeah.
And you'll see 5 stars. And so the stars represent the generations. The fifth star. Yeah. The fifth star is my son. The fourth star was me. And obviously you back it up. You got my father, grandfather, and great grandfather. You go in reverse. And if you notice, there are bands, seals, country seals on the side of where it says Cuevas.
Yes.
And the ones you guys are smoking, there is a tiny band on the far right, which is Cuba. Then you've got you've got Spain, then you got Cuba, and then you have the Dominican Republic. So that was the route we took. If you look at the Reserva one, you've also got the U.S. seal because my boy was born in the U.S. of A.
So very cool.
Yeah, there's a rhyme and a reason for all of it. I can't take all the credit. I got to give credit where credit is due. Umberto Arias from Cigar Package Design, who works with a lot of people in this industry. We corroborated on this, and a lot of it was his idea as he tried to cultivate the notion that we've been at this for generations, and why not harken back to where we came from, and where we are. So it's cool. It's cool, but it's something I don't talk about unless I get asked. But I just figured, what the hell, I'll throw it in there with you guys.
No,
there you go.
That's why we're here.
That's really neat because, it's one of those things. A lot of times people look at the bands on their cigars and, they might think, oh, that's a cool looking band or whatever, but they don't. There's a lot that goes in. A good band. There's a lot that goes into that band. There's a lot of art, history and thought and everything that goes in behind that band. And so it's interesting to learn what about the components on this little piece of paper, what they all actually mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with the fact that there's a significance to all of it. It's kind of like I don't know, getting a tattoo and having it mean something, as opposed to just getting, a barbed wire on your arm. There's something for everybody, but the idea being that we wanted something that represented the family, and it's there. At least it's there. At least I know it's there. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
Very cool. So you guys historically, for the longest time, you were making cigars, but a lot of your cigars you were making for other companies, correct? And then in 2017, that's when Casa Cuevas got going on its own.
Correct. And it was, it's something that was bandied about for a long time. In 2002, my dad tried launching a brand called the Cuevas Habanos, and it was just a manufacturer. They sent them to the States. It never really caught any fire. It never got any legs, and it's really difficult to have a brand grow when you don't have a sales staff. And there was no sales staff. I mean, it was just being peddled about by some of my cousins, by myself. It wasn't working. That is the Cuevas Reserva that you're smoking now. I had to change the name from Habanos to Reserva in order to trademark it, because the word Habano cannot be trademarked. The U.S. won't allow it.
I see.
Because Cuba won't allow it. So that was our grandfather product. But that came and was launched in July of last year. Prior to that, as you mentioned, in 2017, when we launched Casa Cuevas, we had no choice at that point but to do it, because the FDA had issued that law that essentially said if you don't bring in a cigar before June, I think it was June or August of 2016, and have it in market, you can no longer bring in a new line.
Yeah.
So we did actually bring them in during that time period, but the actual launch was done in 2017.
Oh, okay.
You follow me?
Yeah.
No, okay. The official launch. Yeah. And so we did it. We waited a long time to do anything, because truth be told, I really had no idea how to market the thing. I knew it was an uphill climb, and it still is very much so. There's a lot of really great cigars out there, and you're competing in a pretty saturated market. And so we weren't sure how to get it going, but 3 years later, we're going strong. We've been growing a lot, and I'm happy I'm in it. I'm super thrilled I'm in it. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
definitely
awesome.
So Jeff, tell me, what are you getting on the Connecticut over there?
It's kind of creamy. I'm not really getting that Connecticut bitterness, that sometimes the Connecticut tends to have. I'm not really getting that. My ash is really beautiful and marbled. It's gray and black. It's actually burning really well. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm really liking the Habano here. It's got a little bit of. I did a retrohale. I did pot down my microphone.
I watched your head explode from across the table.
Louis was talking, and so I did a retrohale, and there's some pepper on the retrohale. On the actual smoke itself, it's a very smooth smoke. Construction wise, this thing is great. I mean, I've got a great burn line. Like you said, the ash is really tight, nice light, very light, almost white kind of gray color. Yeah. And it's kicking off a ton of smoke. I'm really enjoying this.
I'm going to try a retrohale.
Okay, you can do the retrohale there. I'm the one that usually coughs my brains out when I do it. So
do you really?
Very smooth. Very smooth. A little hint of pepper, but very, very smooth retrohale.
And speaking of Jeff's point, I didn't mention it because I wanted, maybe if you guys picked up on it, and he did. The Connecticut from Ecuador usually has that bitterness to it, and we tried to mitigate that with that Colombian tobacco. I absolutely love Colombian tobacco. It does offset that bitterness. It has an innate sweetness to it. Colombian does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That sort of it does offset that bitterness that you get from the Ecuadorian Connecticut. So that was the aim. And I'm glad I achieved it, because Jeff picked up on it right away. And as far as the Habano, it's got a good pepper, a good spice to it, especially the retrohale. Yeah. And we were aiming for that as well. You guys hit on exactly what we wanted you to hit on, which is great.
That worked out.
It's hitting all my good notes here. I mean, that's the thing.
Awesome.
And that's the thing with us, Louis, is, Jeff and I, we have different palates.
We do.
He tends to go with the more mild, kind of shade-grown Connecticut and everything. And
Okay.
I tend to go more medium to full, and so I like something that's got a little spice, I don't want something that's going to completely come up and just slit your throat, but something that's
You want your cigar to kick you in the nuts, let's be honest.
Yeah, but I don't want to get killed by it, you know. So this is hitting all the right notes, especially for my first cigar of the day. I don't want to come at it, with a rocket launcher right off the bat,
Exactly.
So this works out really
Actually,
great.
my second cigar of the day, I had a breakfast cigar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good for you.
The whole COVID quarantine thing, I'm sitting at home.
How did you have a breakfast cigar? I called you when I was on my way down here, and I woke you up.
I got it in quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was one of the Undercrown shades.
Oh, one of those little guys.
Yeah, it was a light one. So.
Okay. Anyway.
Now I have a couple of quick questions. So one of my bucket list items that I have, and I turned 51 this past Friday. And, so I'm just hanging on by a thread, so I've got to get these bucket list things done. And it's just, time is not on my side. And I have wanted to go to Cuba for many, many years. And I know under President Obama, some of those rules got relaxed. And then under President Trump, we had the whole attack kind of thing at the embassy with the secret weapon that was used against us. It's a whole thing. Look it up. You guys will know what I'm... everybody that listens knows I'm into conspiracies, so just look it up. You'll find out about it. But those rules kind of got locked back down. What is your feeling, having family from Cuba and having to deal with the whole debacle with the Castro regime? What are your feelings on normalizing relations or reestablishing relations with Cuba?
All right, that's an interesting question. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. I've never gone back to the place I was born. My family's never gone back. We left. My dad left in '68 to Spain. I was 2 years old. Then we were reunited in Spain with my mom in 1970. And from there we came to the States. Franco was allowing Cubans to leave the island. This was a few years after '59, right? To leave the island. And he was welcoming them, and then we were fortunate enough to come to this phenomenal country. I've never been back. None of my family has ever been back. I don't have any family over there that's immediate, right? So my grandparents came here and passed away here. All my cousins, some of them were born here, and the ones that were born over there still came here. My dad's 10 brothers and sisters all came over here. My mom's one sister is all here. I have no family there, and I have no interest in going at all. Short of a literally one-day visit where my mom and dad could take me to where I was born, where they grew up, and once I saw that, I can hop on the plane and come back. Well, that's not going to happen exactly, so I may never go back. Notwithstanding that, I have friends who go to Cuba, have gone to Cuba, have taken cruises before COVID and everything else to Cuba, and that's fine. To each his own. Normalizing relations, I think, would be a good thing in so much as maybe it would help the people over there a bit. But I would rather see that happen if the government changes first.
Yeah.
But I'm not dead set against it. It's kind of like a delicate topic. So, I'm not completely opposed to it. I'm just not all in, right? So if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, I'm okay with it. If the government changes over there, then really the point is moot because it's going to happen at that point, right?
Exactly.
So that's really non-consequential. So that's where I stand on that. I remember years ago, and I'm going all over the place on this. Years ago, there was talk that if they normalize relations, then the U.S. market would then be welcoming Cuban cigars, and I was 100% for that. And I'll tell you why. I think that they are completely overrated at this point. I don't think that the Cuban cigars that are waxed eloquently about as being these phenomenal things, I don't think they are anymore. I also don't think that Cuba has the resources to flood this market with, which it would be a coup for them, right?
Yeah.
To have all those cigars come into this market and think about it, the embargo really is the U.S. because Cuba deals with Canada. Cuba deals with Central and South America. Cuba deals with all of Asia. Cuba deals with all of Europe. So, it's one country saying, don't bring your stuff over here, but all the other countries are saying, yeah, give me your cigars. So, if you've taken a a trip to Europe and you go to London or you go to Madrid or you go to Paris, you can buy Cuban cigars. They're available. We were in Canada last year at one point, and I stopped at a cigar shop and I bought a couple of Cuban cigars because I can't get them here. I wanted to see what it's all about. And I wanted to get to legit stuff, not the stuff that somebody brings on vacation from Cuba and, their uncle worked at the factory who knows some other guy who knows another guy.
Yeah.
And they bring you bogus stuff.
Yeah. The stuff I always joke that's packed with hair and fingernails.
Yeah. And whatnot, right?
Whatnot.
So I wound up smoking over the years, and we've traveled here and there, and some are very good, but a lot of them are not. And I think that if the U.S. market has the opportunity to have Cuba compete with us head to head, I think my fellow manufacturers are going to take a dip in sales for a bit. And then I think the American consumer is going to go, okay, now that it's not the forbidden fruit, and I'm comparing apples to apples, here you have this apple that's 3 times the price and is not even nearly as good as the other stuff I was smoking. So I think ultimately it would help me as a brand owner gain a better market share going forward, because then you just eliminate that out of the way, number one. Number two, you'd attract new smokers because they want to try what's not been available.
Yeah.
So, hey, let me try this Cuban. And then number three, I would think that I could then use Cuban tobacco to blend within my own stuff at the factory in the Dominican Republic. Right now, you're not allowed to do that. If you do that and the U.S. finds out, they will blacklist you and you cannot bring in your product. So none of us do that. But if I'm able to do that, then I can, the same way as I mentioned the ingredients in the Habano and in the Connecticut, I could also sit there and say it also has Cuban tobacco from this region of Pinar del Rio, right? And I'm using tobacco from Vuelta Abajo or El Corojo or whatever it may be, and we'd go that route. So there's a lot of positives I think that could come for brand owners here in the States if Cuba were competing with us on the same level playing field. So I would welcome the challenge. I think the competition would be good. You just got to be able to withstand the dip. And there's going to be a dip because everybody's going to want to smoke Cubans over everything first. And then there's not enough value there for what they're asking for those cigars, and they're not going to get cheap.
One thing that you brought up that I've never thought about is the possibility of blending in Cuban tobacco in the American or Central American, cigar products. That fascinates me.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be really cool. I would assume they'd be functioning like any other country. And the DR in Cuba, for example, and Nicaragua certainly, because they're communists, are able. They deal with each other all the time.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to, I'm certain I could buy Cuban tobacco from Cuba and bring it to the DR. I don't think that'd be an issue. I think the issue then is blending it into your cigars and then having it come here to the States, which that I would not even tamper or come even close to doing.
Yeah.
So, going forward, if the U.S. and Cuba normalize relations, and I think that would be a viable avenue for cigar manufacturers to take, I think.
Very interesting.
Well, and the one point you also brought up that I want to touch on is you mentioned that you kind of offhandedly said that you didn't even know if they would have the infrastructure in Cuba to accommodate cigars for the United States market. And that's an interesting point to me as well, is that, right now the cigar manufacturing infrastructure in Cuba is set up for handling the rest of the world minus the United States. But when you add in the United States, that's a lot of cigar smokers to just suddenly dump onto a company and say, hey, now you can market to these people. And by the way, they're clamoring for your product because they haven't been able to have it for, 60 plus years and, whatever else. So, I mean, are they even going to be able to keep up with the American market?
I don't think so. And let's be honest, right? The American market dwarfs the rest of the world combined.
Exactly.
It just does. And I think what would happen, perhaps, is Cuba would then be forced to either cultivate tobacco from other countries and then blend, or even manufacture in other countries and also blend. So at that point, you're me. You're doing the same thing I'm doing, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, you have all this experience doing that, whereas Cuba, correct me if I'm wrong, they're not using tobacco from other regions and other countries, correct? They're just
supposedly they're not. I've heard rumors that they are.
Okay,
I don't know that to be true. I don't. I like to think that they don't, simply because I believe in the integrity of not Cubans necessarily, but in the integrity of the industry a little bit.
Yeah.
But if they're doing it in a very hush-hush way. That's why it's a rumor.
Yeah.
So I like to think that they're not. But
I don't know
going forward, I think they'd have to.
The way I've always kind of had it explained to me is kind of like, when you look at the cars in Cuba, they're very, a lot of them are very old cars that they've just maintained and kept going throughout the years and that sort of thing. And it's kind of the same. And so, if you were to drop a 2020, Ford Escape or whatever in Cuba, it's going to be like, a rocket ship in comparison to some of the things that people are driving there. And I've kind of heard that comparison to cigars as well, that, there's been a lot of advancements, a lot of experimentation and work and everything on the blending and all this kind of stuff to where, and not just the blending, I mean, just the cultivation of the plants themselves, to where if you were to drop all that into Cuba, it just isn't going to necessarily take off right away. But I don't know.
I don't either, but I know I've seen, and you guys can look this up. There was a show, I think it's called a World Traveler or whatnot. It had nothing to do with tobacco. He went over there to drink rum.
Okay.
What the guy does is he drinks, and it's on the Travel Channel and whatnot. So he winds up in Cuba drinking rum and trying different rums. And by proxy, he winds up also in a tobacco field. And he's showing how much of the art hasn't been lost. So they're tilling the soil with oxen. I mean, give me a break, right? I mean, it's not because they're doing it to be old school. They're doing it because they just don't have the infrastructure to have the machinery to till the soil. That's just tilling the soil, let alone the advancements that have been done in keeping the crops the way they are now and generating all the stuff that they do now. I think they'd be they'd be in a difficult position to keep up. But we'll see. It will happen, right? It's going to happen. It will get normalized eventually.
I would think
can't
at
go on
some
forever.
point, yeah.
Well, and I've had people tell me, "Oh, I only smoke Cuban cigars," and I'm like, "Why? You're missing out on so much." The little bit of contraband that has trickled its way to me over the years. Now, I want to be honest. I'm a good American, and I destroy the contraband as soon as I get a hold of it.
You burn it, right?
Yeah, you burn it, right?
Yeah. But that being said, I find Cuban cigars to be very one note.
Yeah. And they're really not. And it's always boggled my mind. So you get some American smokers who will rave about Cubans, and then the non-Cuban cigar they want is a chest buster. Well, you don't get a single chest buster out of the Cuban cigars. For the most part, they're not strong cigars. They're more on the mellow side. Nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. Some of them are terrific, but they're going, well, I only smoke a Padron 26, which is really, really strong. Well, great, but that's two separate flavor profiles completely.
Oh, totally.
Totally. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally. So where do you stand? If it's a Cuban, you're going to forgive that it's mellow, that it's maybe more one-dimensional. But if you're smoking anything that's not Cuban, you want it to be the most complex thing in the world and the strongest thing in the world. I can't reconcile those things. You know?
Agreed. So, Nick, what are you getting on your stick?
So I'm still getting some pepper.
I'm a little over
There's
halfway.
A little sweetness. Yeah, you're just like puffing away quick over there, man.
I smoke a lot faster than Nick does.
Yeah,
so.
I am not. I'm still in the first third of this cigar. I'm taking my time with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying it. It's a great draw. That's the other thing, man. The draw on this cigar is fantastic. Do you guys do
Thank you.
draw testing and all that?
Yeah. Every single cigar gets draw tested through the Draw Master. We have a couple of them at the factory, and then there's, I think, 3 in storage in case any of the 2 break. So every single cigar goes through the Draw Master, and we try very, very hard to keep quality control. I mean, it's a man-made thing, right?
Well, yeah.
So,
I mean, look, something may potentially come along, but you do your best to try and mitigate that.
Absolutely. And we try really hard to do that.
Yeah.
And the brand itself has been built always on and it's only happened a couple of times where a shop has had a complaint from a customer and I replaced the box, no questions asked.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, listen, we want to make you whole. Thank you for allowing us in your beautiful shop, and thanks for taking a chance on a new brand. So, and again, going back to the honesty of the industry as well, like I said, it's only happened a couple of times, and I really do firmly believe that consumer has complained in a genuine way. They've had a serious issue with a cigar, whatever it may be. In one of the cases, it was because it was kept under humidified. It was a shop in Arizona, in Phoenix, and it get pretty warm out there.
Yeah.
And when I took a trip over to visit the shop,
very dry,
very dry. The humidity inside the humidor was stupidly low, and things were just cracking. But we still replaced it, and we've done a lot of business with that shop. So, just the idea is to try to do the best we can. But I always forgive construction on cigars when I smoke someone else's brand, because having a factory, I know that things happen, right?
Yeah.
And I'm always willing to forgive for a few cigars. After a while, if it's a constant thing, then whoa, okay, no, because you're burning the $10 bill or whatever it may be.
Exactly.
That's what you're doing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Well, and I'll tell you, you've got nothing to apologize on this Connecticut, because I mean the burn line is just impeccable. And again, like I talked about the ash earlier, it's marbled up really nice. I mean, just a beautiful smoke.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Jeff.
So,
thank you.
You guys, pardon me. It was me inhaling inhaling my exhale is what that was.
Nick tries to compose himself, I'm going to mention we've got some cicadas or locusts or whatever you want to call them that are screaming in the trees, desperately looking for a mate, and they're just infuriating Nick here in the backyard.
They're just driving me nuts back here. So anyway, so you guys officially launched in 2017.
Yep.
And then tell me about 2017 and 2018. How did the first couple of years go?
They went well. 2017 was the toughest year out of all of them, obviously, because it was getting brokers on board. Mm-hmm. I had a sales director at the time who had been a sales director for 2 other companies, so he was a godsend. He was terrific. He's no longer with the company at this point, but the 3 years that he was with me, 2.5 years. He really did a lot to at least break the ice with shops in a few different locations. There was a lot of flying. I clocked in a lot of miles, and there was a learning curve. It was tough. Now I envisioned always that this was a marathon, and now in the 3rd year, COVID really took the wind out of my sails here. But SAILS, I mean.
Yeah.
Because it really thwarted our going forward. But 27 and 2018, every year we grew. And then, 2019, we finally made it to the IPCPR with a booth. We went all in. We had a fairly large 600 square foot booth, standalone. So, I went, the idea was go semi-big or go home, right? I didn't have a booth the size of General's, let's say.
Well,
but, we made an impression. And going into this year, the idea was going to be the same with the TPE in January of last year. So, of this year, rather, we were trying very hard to grow, and we have succeeded in doing that. And as time has gone on, now we've got several brokers, we've got several territories. We've grown pretty well, notwithstanding, COVID and what it's done. And then, I don't know, we had a pitfall.
Well, that's what I wanted to get to. That's why I asked about 2017, 2018, because it seems like in the Casa Cuevas history here, it has definitely been peaks and valleys. You guys have for a short time period of doing your own brand. It seems like you guys have definitely hit your fair share of complications.
I would say they got a sucker punch.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So in 2019. You guys basically were robbed in something that sounds like something out of a movie. Would you talk to us a little about that?
Sure. 2018 December, we buy a warehouse. We outgrew the original one we had, and so we buy a warehouse, and we have a humidor built into the warehouse. You can envision a warehouse. It's got a bay door, right? It's got a front door for an office, and then it's got a back door to an alleyway. And we alarmed it. We put cameras throughout. I did not have insurance yet. We were waiting for, it's on me. We were waiting for the fire extinguishers to then go ahead and procure insurance. And we move in January of that year. We finish refurbishing the office. We have the humidor built up, and it's juxtaposed against the back wall of the area.
Now, I would like to just interrupt for a moment and say that I would kill to have a humidor that was essentially a warehouse.
Yes. that's a life goal.
That's a life goal. Yeah. But anyway,
that's a life goal.
So I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So anyway, we stick it up against the back wall because nobody's going to put it in the middle of the thing. It just kills the space, right? Everybody puts it up against the back wall. Inside the humidor itself, it's got your humidification system, it's got a light, it's got everything you need, air conditioning, blah, blah, blah. What it doesn't have is sensors inside. What it doesn't have are cameras inside. Now it does. Then it didn't. And what these guys did one evening over the course of 5 hours, 7 guys, they broke a hole in the exterior wall to the warehouse, then cut into the humidor, stepped inside, and wiped us out. Totally wiped us out. They took 25,000 cigars, which was all of it. They took all of it away. It took them that long. First, it was pouring rain that night because there's cameras everywhere. We can watch them working. They were all the cameras didn't do a damn thing. Their faces were covered. We couldn't get a license, nothing. But anyway, so first they started, then they were startled at some point, and they came back. And when they broke through the wall, they realized they were stuck now with 2 really thick rebars and an electrical tube running through it. So then they left and came back with a cutting tool to try to cut through the rebar. You see the sparks coming up and everything. That wasn't successful. So now they had to climb into this little tiny square. And from there, they had to then essentially take the goods out. And that's what they did. They piled them all in the alleyway. Then a box truck came once everything was piled up. Then they loaded it all up. They had a sentry in the front of where the building is to the right. And we saw him get spooked when another car came by. And that's when the box truck took off and left some of the stuff scattered in the alleyway. And they got drenched, and then they took off. And that was it. We were wiped out completely. Wow, they did it very efficiently. I mean, they knew what they were doing. Why they picked my brand, I don't know. Have I ever seen the cigars again? The answer is no. Some of them I could have identified, merely like the Flacos, the limited edition Flacos. We had come out with these 7x43s that were limited editions, and the boxes were numbered. Those I could have identified anywhere. The others looked like anything else. So if you took away the band, it's a cigar, right? It's a Robusto, it's a Toro, it's a 6x60. It looks like every other. But the Flacos were pretty unique, and those boxes were pretty unique. I haven't seen or heard anything, and I like to think that they wasted their time, and either they're smoking them all, or they lost them all in the rain, or they put them in a warehouse where the conditions weren't great, and they all just burst apart. I don't know. I like to think the worst, but it was really bad. It was really painful. I think what saved us was having the factory. Let's start with that. That helped a lot, right? Otherwise, if I had to buy the cigars outright from the factory to then send to me and then replace, I think I would have been completely bankrupt. Yeah. So, having the factory manufacturing my own helps. And second of all, my dad's a really resilient guy. So, I remember calling him that morning. He goes, essentially, he cursed a bit, said, and then he says, okay, by the end of the week, we'll have some stock over there and we'll just manufacture more and we'll get it going. And that's what we did. And then to piggyback on that, because the Flacos were lost and those boxes were numbered, it was 500 of the Habanos, 500 Maduros, and they were engraved with 1 of 500, 2 of 500, et cetera, et cetera. We had received those here at the warehouse out of sequence. So I had no way of knowing if Nick had bought box 53 of 500 of the Habanos and Jeff box 22 of 500 of the Maduros. So I couldn't, in all fairness, replicate those cigars in those boxes, right? You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. And we didn't do that. So those were lost. Yeah. The other stuff I could replicate, right? Those were gone. So we're sitting around licking our wounds, and my son goes, you know what? They used a sledgehammer to break through the back wall. And they would take turns as they were busting through the concrete. And clearly they took a long time to do it because they started hitting one of the walls that had the rebar in it, which means it was filled with concrete. Oh, yeah. They had to work extra hard at it. So as they were going at this for a while, and guy after guy was taking, swings at it because they would get tired, my son goes, let's come out with a cigar called the Sledgehammer, which is Mandaria, to use it as a pun. And it's going to be a limited run, and it'll hopefully make up for the losses of the Flacos. Lo and behold, the Mandaria was born. It was a hit at the IPCPR last year. It's been a hit ever since. Now it's part of regular core production. And, it was something that was born out of adversity, and it's been really, really well received. And it's sort of, I'll be honest, it sort of represents the attitude my dad took, right? So steadfast, keep swinging, we'll be okay. And I'm proud to say here we are, standing. We're doing all right. We're doing all right.
That's great. That's great. So going back to the robbery itself, nobody's ever been caught. There's never been any
Nothing.
leads or anything like that, huh?
Nothing. And we have some friends, a good friend who's a retired detective, and he had just retired, I think, within a year before the robbery. So he got on the horn and he did what he could. And at one point, the detective that we had on our case approached me once he realized we had no insurance. I guess we were no longer suspects, right? Because it could have been fraud or whatnot. And he says, "Listen, Lewis, truth of the matter is I've got a caseload that's as tall as this building on my desk. No one got hurt. No one got shot, thankfully, right? Nothing happened. You lost product. I get it. I'm sorry. But this is not going to the top of my worry list. So
that sucks.
It is what it is." And he was brutally honest with me, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, had they wanted to really look for it, let's be honest. I mean, I work next to a major artery here, two major arteries here in Doral, Florida. They could have easily traced that truck as it goes through to traffic lights. There's cameras everywhere, and they would have found at least a license plate from there on. That was never done, and here I am. So at this point, I talk about it, I don't even feel it anymore. It's like, you have a deep wound, and then now it's completely healed. So it's gone. It is what it is.
Well, that's good. You guys have been able to bounce back from it. I mean,
But what a gut punch.
That is a gut punch.
It was brutal. It was brutal. I mean, literally, my buddy, my sales director, sat there and just wept. I mean, his eyes got watery, and I stared at this thing going, I can't believe this is happening to us. Just when we're getting going, right?
Yeah.
And now you gotta tell people, listen, we can't provide products because I don't have any product, and it's a new brand. So out of sight, out of mind, that shelf space is going to be taken up by someone else.
Exactly.
Not to mention the financial hit, which was rough. Because although I was able to replace the cigars at wholesale cost to me as a manufacturer, we're still talking about boxes and bands and all that stuff that's gone, and that's money too. You know what I mean? And shipping costs and S-ship costs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It added up to quite a bit of money. So yeah.
I mean, well, I'll just say this. If anybody's in the audience and you have any knowledge or can give any information, please reach out to this manufacturer and let them know, because it's not right that this happened and no one's been held accountable.
No, and you guys have noticed there seems to be an ongoing issue with this, especially here in Miami, Florida. I know the Gurkha Cigars got robbed. I remember the Fuentes truck got robbed once. The Drew Estates got hit. Who else got hit recently? There's 3 or 4 brands. Coot Cigars, which I don't think are around anymore, got hit. La Galera from Hochi Blanco got hit in February this year.
It almost makes you wonder if, somebody, I don't want to say an inside thing like one of your guys necessarily, but if somebody that's familiar with these manufacturers and their potential layout or their operations and that sort of thing might have some sort of knowledge and might be doing some of this stuff.
Yeah, in my case, it was just myself, my son, and my sales director. I don't do outside sales from here. Yeah. Everything's wholesaled. So the number of people that really had come through my warehouse were a handful of people and people that I knew well. But, that bay door was constantly open as we worked because it's hotter than hell out in that warehouse. Yeah. I mean, the office is air conditioned, the rest is not. And all the warehouses are identical, right? So it's a warehouse district. So mine looks exactly like the 7 that are next to me.
Yeah.
Actually, the 12 that are next to me. So if you're walking up and down, now there's cigars. It says Casa Cuevas all over the thing. There's signage and whatnot, and it says premium cigars and whatnot. And you look at it and you see that humidor. The humidor is juxtaposed against the wall. The air conditioning unit that cools, this is my theory anyway, the air conditioning unit that cools the humidor has a drainage, like all air conditioners do, that sticks out the back, way at the bottom, in the alleyway. And I remember seeing in the video, the guy comes in with an iPhone or a cell phone, some kind of phone with a light on it, and he shines it on what appears to be the drain, and then he takes a few steps left of the drain, away from the door, in the back, in the alleyway, towards the building itself, and then he goes like this in circles on the wall, and that's where they started hitting. So, it didn't take a genius to figure out, okay, this is where the AC probably is. The unit can't be blocking the door. It's got to be away from the door, so let's move on 6 feet away from the drain, and let's break here. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's my theory on how they did it. But they had scoped out the place for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Well,
they also didn't open the humidor door. Had they done that, the alarms and the sensors in the building itself would have triggered. So they worked essentially in the dark, but obviously with a flashlight, right? So they knew enough not to open the humidor door.
Yeah.
They assumed there were alarms set out somewhere. Now, at this point, I have alarms inside the humidor, so anything in there, it's going to trigger. But I didn't know enough. I mean, I thought for sure, how the hell do you get to it? If you didn't go through the front door, the bay door, the back door, you got to go in somewhere.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me to break a wall and cut in. And they did.
Interesting.
Yeah, they did.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the old hole-in-the-wall gang from Las Vegas back in the, I guess, 60s and 70s. I'm trying to remember exactly when they operated, but it was a gang of mobsters out there, and they would go to the really rich houses, and they knew that the doors and windows had sensors and alarm systems. So what they do is they just bang a hole in the wall and just go in through the house and rob the place blind through the hole in the wall. So that's how they got their name. But so interesting. Well, and so then this happens. You said you went to IPCPR and that went well.
Yeah.
And you're kind of getting back on your feet from that. And then COVID comes along in 2020. so let's talk a little bit. How has COVID impacted you? Because you said that your operations are in the DR. And I know that the DR had to suspend its factories and everything for a little while due to COVID. Can you go into all that?
Oh, sure. I mean, not only in the DR, but here, a lot of the business that I built was based, as I said earlier, on flying, right? So I'd go out to these territories and meet not only the shop owners, but meet the patrons and do events. And in a lot of cases, not even do the events, but just it's still very much a handshake business, right? You want to get to know the person behind the brand, and I certainly want to get to know the store owners and develop that relationship. So that ended in a hurry. So opening up new accounts that way, that was gone. And then we started going through the stock that we had little by little. March and April, and actually I was looking at numbers a few minutes ago, and part of May were putrid. Putrid. They were brutal for me.
Yeah.
But we still were selling cigars because online sales picked up on people that we do business with, like Neptune Cigars, which is a big online retailer here in Miami, Florida. They sell it throughout the United States. They started moving a lot, and a lot of shops reinvented themselves. So they were doing online or curbside pickup. So we were moving product, and then we ran out of products. But then we were shut down at the DR. Right? So now you can't receive product because there's no one there to send it. So it was a double whammy. I got to give credit, though, to the folks out there who own the shops and have had just this infinite patience with us. And I'm talking about me, but I'm sure it was the same with every other brand that they dealt with, where they understood, hey, listen, I just can't get you the product. Or in one instance that we had up till recently, and this is up to maybe 2 weeks ago, we had ordered boxes in January, and we just received the boxes 2 weeks ago. So I had product at one point, but I had no boxes. So here I'm asking shop owners, hey, would you guys mind refilling boxes? I'll give you a discount on the box itself, but I don't have boxes to give you. I have received the cigars themselves, but I don't want to sell them as bundles. It's not a bundle stick. It's a premium cigar.
Yeah.
Could you please refill those boxes? And to a man and a woman, they all said, yeah, we've already carried the product. Yeah. And by the way, if you've got any empty boxes, send them our way and refill them yourself, and we'll put them. We won't sell the box. We'll sell the stuff inside. And, they really went out of their way to help us out as a small brand and give us a hand and not completely being out of sight, out of mind. So kudos to all the shops out there. Not a one can I remember. I'm thinking about this hard. Not a one said, no, I'm sorry. Either it's the box or nothing. Not a single one. And, God bless them. They did great things. I mean, our factory was able, once we were to get back on board, the hours were shortened. Social distancing still goes on. The rollers and everyone else has to wear a mask and a face shield. Consider that they don't work in air conditioning. It's hotter than hell. Oh, so you got both those things on. But we were able to space out everyone, and we had to let some rollers go. But we were able to space them out enough so that we were at least get production going again to some degree.
Yeah.
The box manufacturer, though, the way their operation works over there in the DR, they can't do that. So they fell behind in production incredibly. And that's what led to the delay in getting those boxes. So, I had to wait, 8 months to get boxes? It was incredible.
I know you're not the only manufacturer that's dealt with that. I've heard of at least couple different ones that they've had that exact same issue. And the one that's coming to mind is La Flor Dominicana. I know that they started putting out their cigars to retailers in the same way. Just they bundled them up and basically said, here, if you have a box, refill the box and everything.
Well,
you got to do what you got to do. So.
You got to do, and piggybacking on that, La Flor, their boxes are made where my boxes are made. It's the same box maker.
Okay.
In Santiago.
So dealing with the same issue. Yeah. So.
Yep. That makes sense.
Interesting. Yep. So then, since you talked a little bit about March, April, May, how have things kind of rebounded now that you're starting to see some states reopen to some degree? I know COVID's still an ongoing issue, and some states reopen and then shut back down. And like we live in Illinois, we were on like phase 4 of a 5-stage plan, and now the region that we live has had a few extra cases, so now we're kind of back into what I'm calling like phase 3.5, where they've kind of scaled us back a little bit, but not quite to what phase 3 was. So how have sales and everything been since the end of May?
They picked up a lot. I mean, June was decent, and then July was just phenomenal. July was when supposed to be PCA, and remember, end of June, early July, I remember. So we ran some specials. I think everybody in industry did their own private PCA, where you gave aggressive deals. And essentially what we did anyway is the costs that I would have incurred in going to Vegas and being there for about a week, essentially, and having the
not
booth.
cheap.
No.
At all. And then having the booth and having not only the space for the booth, but the booth itself. And obviously you go to dinners and, there's the drinking after and all that nonsense. It gets really expensive in a hurry, right?
Nick knows all about the drinking after.
I did TPE this year, and so we'll get to that in a second. But anyway, just to complete your thought there.
Yeah. So, I took a lot of what we would have spent and turned that into really aggressive specials that we gave shop owners. And it went very, very well. And things have tapered off a little bit in August because, again, things started shutting down. So the brokers that we have are now finding difficulty in doing events and doing this and doing the other. So that's part of it, right? I mean, you open up a shop and the shop goes, okay, great. Can we set up an event, a cut and light, maybe can you work the humidor for me? Can you do this, the other, and get the cigars into people's hands? And in a lot of instances, do you mind if Lewis flies out here and just, introduces himself to the patrons, whatever? That all went to hell. Yeah. And so, there was a dip again. So this cut back on this phase 1, phase 2, and you were moving along, and now you're back to, phase 1 or whatever it may be. It's hurt a bit, but July really was very, very positive, and I think ultimately it's going to be okay. It seems to be dying down a bit. I don't know. I think Jeff is the conspiracy theory, but theorist rather. But
yes.
Maybe in November it all ends. Who knows? Right?
I have money on that. Yeah.
All I'm saying is that there's a certain presidential candidate that happened to say that there should be a national mandate for masks that goes for 3 months that would end right about
election
mid-November.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll just go past that. So you mentioned TPE though. So how did you guys enjoy that show?
You know what? I enjoyed the hell out of it. We had one of the little islands that were shared by different brands. Yeah, it was like a little pantheon, and you were there.
I was there. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So the cost was negligible, really, compared to PCA or IPCPR. It was really affordable. I was very, very pleased. I'm excited about being there in January, notwithstanding COVID, right? If COVID comes or sticks around past November and into January, then obviously that's not going to happen. But I was really, really happy with the way it worked. And, if you've been to IPCPR in the past, everybody had downsized a lot. So, Gurkha normally has this tremendously gigantic booth, and it's general. Let's not even go there, right? They had 2 tables with a tablecloth on top and a backdrop.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And they were there to make money. And I'm sure they did. So, we made money. I came out with a profit. Can you believe that? Because at last year's IPCPR, I lost quite a bit of money. I knew it was going to happen. I wasn't surprised. I looked at it as an investment, and it worked, right? I got a lot of press. We got a lot of visitors and inquisitive people and a lot of contacts that came after the IPCPR that then opened up accounts eventually. So, the sales there were great, but I still lost money because of the incredible expense of the big booth and all that other stuff that goes with it, and the expense of traveling over there and whatnot. TPE was a different ballgame. I mean, I made money right off the bat, and I was psyched. I mean, you didn't have to. You weren't there to impress the shop owners with this enormous booth that you have and bands and this and the other. You were there to discuss cigars, smoke cigars. Do they like the price points? Do they like the sticks? Do they like the family behind it? And that was it. So let's do business. And it was great. It was great. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I've never been to a PCA or IPCPR show. The TPE show this year was my first one going, and I was really impressed. I thought it was nice. That it was casual. I thought the way they had it laid out with the color-coded carpet was nice in order to determine, what was the premium cigar area and what was the area for all the other products and everything. I thought it was a really good show. And everybody that I've talked to has said the same thing.
Yeah, everybody was positive. I mean, it's normally when IPCPR day ends and we all congregate at a certain bar and we all talk shop, and a lot of business is done after hours, right?
Yeah.
When we all do that, you'll hear manufacturers complain about the attendance, about this, about that. I tell you unequivocally to a person that wasn't happening at PCA. Well, I mean at TPE rather. Everyone was, at the end of the day, you had your drink and you still conducted business, but you were upbeat, you were happy, you were like, oh shit, I'm sorry I said that.
Oh no, you
forgive me.
Say whatever you want.
No, you're not going to offend us.
Okay, all right.
And our listeners are pretty tone deaf to it at this point too. So
okay, all right. Glad to hear that. So yeah, I mean, everybody was going, damn man, I'm actually making some money here. This is great.
Yeah,
I don't have to. So yeah.
Well, and let's be real. I'd much rather go to Las Vegas in January than July.
Oh
Amen.
yes.
I mean that's a whole it's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, exactly.
Well, yes. Again, folks, we're speaking with Luis Cuevas Jr. of Casa Cuevas. I'm smoking the Connecticut. Nick has
I have the Habano here, and I'm down to the final third of this Habano, and
I'm down to the nub.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, I'm smoking a lot faster, but man, it's a good stick. It's got a lot of good flavor to it. The burn line, the construction on the cigar has just been impeccable.
Yeah, and the flavor on this has been really great. I mean, I'm still getting some spice. The spice is kind of ramping up a little bit here in the final third, and I'm really enjoying it. And I've been slow smoking this. I've been trying to eke this out a little bit, and as I do it, I've not had any relight issues or anything like that. I mean, Jeff's got his fan going here, so
I do.
Let's be real. I should have had some relight issues, some construction issues, because I think he's got like a propeller from like a B-52, up on the.
I actually took an engine and inverted it from an Air Force Pavehawk. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the point is, this thing normally kicks out gale force winds, and I'm not having any issues whatsoever with the cigar, so it's been great.
I love shopping military surplus. You can find some cool stuff.
Oh Lord!
But I do want to. I'm going to do a down to the nub retro hail. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And there it goes.
It's got a little bit of that pepper to it, but man, it's smooth. Let's see you try one, Nick.
Oh Lord!
I always like to watch Nick's head explode. So there it is.
Yep. There's more pepper on the Habano.
He actually
good, though.
He has smoke rolling out of his headphones right now. It came out of every orifice.
It's good though. I mean, I like this cigar. This is a really great cigar. So Luis, tell us a little bit more about your lineup here, your brand, because like I said, we're smoking the Habano in the Connecticut, but that's not all that you guys offer.
No, we have a Maduro, and we're talking about the core line, the Casa Cuevas line. There's a Maduro as well. It's a Mexican San Andres wrapper, and here's something I want you guys to do. When you have the opportunity, if you're able to smoke another Habano with that Maduro from the Casa Cuevas line, not the Reserva, the black band, if you're able to smoke those side by side, they're going to taste completely different, as well they should. But they're identical, but for the wrapper. And that was just pure chance, right? So when we blend with a size. Toro is the size we use. We always start blending with a Toro, and then from there we tweak accordingly, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't, for the listeners out there, you can't just take the proportions that you're using for a Toro, which is, let's say, a 50 gauge in my case, and then, okay, I'm going to use the same proportions and bump it up to a 60. It doesn't work. You need to actually play with each size. You can't just blend according to just proportions. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. So interestingly enough, as we're working our way through the blends and creating it, we had created this particular blend. And when we tasted it with the Habano and the Maduro, although I wanted to change it, my gut was telling me, don't change it. And my dad's going, don't change it. And Alec, my son, is going, nah, don't. And we did it. But it's amazing the difference the wrapper makes. So I know a lot of times you have these conversations with folks about whether the wrapper makes a difference or not. Well, smoke those two cigars. You can be a novice smoker, never picked up a cigar in your life. There's no nuanced anything. It's just flat out a different cigar. It's incredible. So we do use that San Andres and that Maduro. And in the Reserva line, we have San Andres again, but the blends are different, obviously, from the core line. It's a stronger cigar. We amped up the Pennsylvania. The Colombian is not in either of those. We amped up the Nicaraguan Ligero as well. So it's a bit stronger. Also, the binder is different. We're using an Habano binder in both of those. That changes it quite a bit. And I'm really, really proud of the Reserva line. It's really, really a great cigar. That Connecticut is terrific from that Reserva line. It's super well received. It's just a great cigar. Those come in three sizes right now. There's a Torpedo, a Toro 6x50, and a 5x52 Robusto. And if you're wondering why I got a Torpedo in there, is because remember the line is a grandfathered line, and in 2002, torpedoes were still what people smoked a lot. And so the FDA doesn't allow you to come out with new sizes other than what was launched. Now, there's another 4 or 5 sizes we're going to launch throughout the years as we go forward, but I came out with those three initially. There are no Gordos. There's no 6x60 in the Reserva line because in 2002 there were no 6x60s in that original line. Yeah. So I can't do it. And then finally there's La Mandaria, which is our most full-bodied cigar. It's an Habano. It's a 6x54, and it's got a shaggy foot and a pigtail. The pigtail I enjoy because I like the aesthetics of it, and also it allows you to just clip off the little pigtail, and you can usually just smoke it straight up without having to use a cutter. Yeah. And then the shag foot gives the smoker an opportunity to smoke through binder and filler before hitting the wrapper. And then once you hit the wrapper, it transitions and it turns into something else. There's a lot more spice to it. So it's kind of cool to watch that. Oh, jeez, I'm smoking, and after about a minute or so, boom, I'm hitting something different. And it's neat the way it transitions. So, that's why we did it, and I'm glad we did it. That's our lineup for now, anyway.
Yeah, very cool.
So as we finish up here, Mr. Cuevas, how do people get a hold of you? What's your social media presence? How do they reach out?
Oh, they can follow us at Casa Cuevas Cigars on Facebook, Casa Cuevas Cigars. On Instagram, there's a huge Instagram presence. I know that. Our website is casacuevascigars.com. Make sure you put cigars, always with the S. And if you want to, and every time I've had the privilege of doing any interviews, I always tell people you're more than welcome to reach out to me via email. It's a simple email. It's Luis, my first name, at casacuevascigars.com. And people have actually reached out and either, asked about where they can purchase the cigars, which the website will tell you. I'll get to that in a second some more, but just to sit there and say, hey, I grabbed one of the cigars and I'm really enjoying it, or, just simple, hey, hello, how are you? It doesn't really matter. But if you want to, reach out to me, please, by all means, feel free. You can also reach out to my son, Alec, ALEC, at casacuevascigars.com. And, he'll respond as well. The website, I want to throw this caveat in it, is not updated in terms of where the cigars are available, because I don't know how to do that. And I've been looking for someone to do that. Now we're getting close to having someone that's going to come and revamp the site and the locations. But for the most part, worst case scenario, what people do is they'll just shoot me an email and I'll respond right away, where we have the cigars, where you can get them online and all that stuff. So yeah, please, if you have a chance to smoke one of our cigars, please do so. And I'm going to say this: if you only smoke my cigars, you're missing out on a world of good cigars. I don't smoke my own stuff. I remember mentioning somebody only smokes Cubans. I think that's ridiculous. And it's like me saying I only smoke my own stuff. I smoke other people's stuff as well, and I really, really enjoy it. I think it's a great time to be a cigar smoker. It's a great time to be a cigar smoker. I just aim to be part of your humidor out there, folks. I want to be part of your rotation, part of your repertoire, not the only thing you smoke. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
But I would love for people out there to give us a chance. They got to stand on their own, and I think they do. I really do. I think you'll be pleased.
Well, that's prompted me to ask one more final question here. So you just said that you smoke other people's cigars. What other cigars, not to put you on the spot and talk about other manufacturers, but what other cigars do you enjoy?
I smoke a great deal of Espinosa because Eric and I are friends. Jack Tarano, his director of sales, and I are friends for a long time, back when he was with Tarano. So I'm partial to those. Some of the stuff from Villiger I enjoy. Some of the stuff from Oliva I enjoy. The Padron 64. If I'm ever out there and I don't have cigars on me and I want a stick that I know is going to be consistent in terms of the flavor that I'm looking for, that's always a go-to for me. Those are always good cigars for me. Vicarious, which is a very small brand out of Ohio, we manufacture their stuff, but it's their blends, right?
Yeah.
But there's this one particular that they have called a Negotiator. It's a small 5x48 box press. It's terrific with a Mexican San Andres wrapper. It's phenomenal. I enjoy that. Let me think what else. Crown Heads I enjoy. Let me think. I think that's about pretty much the ones that I go to on a regular basis. I'm, being in the industry, I'm pretty fortunate that I get a lot of stuff that comes my way and I don't have to pay for it, because Miami's like the mecca for people in the cigar industry. So every time you go visit a shop, you're going to wind up seeing reps from everywhere, and they always hand out cigars. We all swap cigars, but if I go to a shop, I look for those. A lot of times I always like to go to a shop, and even though I manufacture, I like to buy cigars from that shop owner. You know what I mean? They got rent to pay, and they got bills to pay, and they got employees to pay, and yeah, it's the right thing to do, I think. So yeah, that's about it, pretty much.
That's an awesome outlook. I like that.
Yeah. Well, folks, if you haven't tried a Casa Cuevas cigar, as I've completed my Habano Robusto here, you really are doing yourself a disservice. You need to go out. You need to find somewhere, either brick and mortar, or if you have to go online, you can do that. But find yourself some Casa Cuevas cigars. This was a really good experience.
And
Jeff?
for all my Gatorites out there, they're going to love this Connecticut. That was a really, really good cigar, good smoke, solid construction, great ash, put off a ton of smoke.
It did.
And at times I was sitting here during the interview just watching the smoke waft off into our bald cypress tree here, and it's just a beautiful cigar, beautiful smoke.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
So, Luis, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with us today and talk to our listeners about your brand.
Thank you so much again for taking the time and taking interest. I'm humbled and I am truly thankful. Thank you very, very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys be well. It's been a pleasure.
Well, Nick, that was a great interview.
No,
what a great guy.
He is a super nice guy. I want to thank Luis Cuevas Jr. again for coming on and speaking with us.
And seriously.
And telling us about his line.
If anybody in the audience knows anything about that break-in, knows anything about where those cigars
Isn't
went,
that crazy?
it's insane.
I mean,
you're right. It's something out of a gangster movie.
It's something out of a movie.
Yeah,
and
let's be honest, they need to be caught and they need to be punished.
Oh, I
brutally.
agree. Well, and the fact that there's all these other robberies and stuff going on down there. I mean, like I said, it almost feels like it's something orchestrated. Somebody that knows the operations and patterns of all these different companies. But I don't know. Maybe it's just coincidence. But and given the fact that it is Miami, you do have a lot of cigar manufacturers down there, so it's one of those things where when you concentrate that many manufacturers in one area, you're going to see some robberies, I guess. But that's just the brazenness of that. I mean, to take 5 hours
for 7 people to be involved in something like that, and the word not trickle out, that amazes me.
It's crazy. But anyway, well, Jeff, how about we get into some Ask the Boys?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So, folks, you can get your questions for Ask the Boys to us by calling the Cigar Pulpit hotline at area code 863-874-0000. And we are in need of your questions, so feel free to get those to us, whenever.
Otherwise, we're just going to make them up.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to start making them up. And, I mean, you know us. You don't really,
no.
You don't really want that to happen.
You don't want to leave us to our own devices.
No, preferably not. So, anyway, we have our first question here.
Hey, Nick and Gator. It's Travis, or Sport98 on Instagram, down here in Carterville, Illinois, the true Southern Illinois, not up there by St. Louis. My question is for Gator. Gator, at what point did you start getting a hint that Nick really is gay?
Whoa!
Stay smoky. Keep doing a great job.
Whoa!
It was the night we spent at Giant City State Park.
Whoa!
Down by you there, close to Carterville.
Boy, buddy, you're close enough. You can come up and have a cigar with us, but man,
just went right for the jugular.
Right for the jugular there.
I was slightly distracted by the very pretty blonde woman jogging by during that question, but trust me, the question brought me back to reality really quickly.
Whoa! For the record, I love women. I celebrate everything about women. I love women.
Their whole catalog.
There is nothing about women I dislike. And in fact, there's a lot of things about men that I do not like.
But not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, but my personal preference is definitely 100% women.
100%?
100%.
100%, okay.
I'm going to cut you. 100%.
See, when we spent the night at Giant City for a convention we went to, Nick was scared because there was a spider in the room, and I had to kill it for him. And we've talked about this extensively on the cast. But at the end of the night, it basically has turned into me just being his big spoon.
You were in the other room. There was nothing, no cuddling. You liar! This is exactly how this gets going.
Rumors get started.
Fucking liar, man! Like no. Nothing took place. I slept in the Murphy bed in the living room, and the reason I bought a new pillow,
covered in spiders.
The reason I bought a new pillow is because the Murphy bed was obviously up in the wall. The pillows were on the bed, and after finding the brown recluse in the cabin, I figured
the size of my fist.
I figured that pillow was probably filled with spiders and eggs, so I decided to go and buy myself a fresh pillow to make sure that I wasn't sleeping on basically a giant spider sack.
Yeah.
And so, that's why I bought the pillow.
That brown recluse was the size of my fist.
It was huge.
It was a big spider.
And I am not screwing around with that.
Not to mention, I killed it with a wash rag that was there. And I left it turned up so we wouldn't pick it up by accident.
And then the next day I go into the bathroom, I flip the light on, and I see the dead spider on the wash rag, think it's another spider, and flip out again.
I heard a 12-year-old girl scream from the bathroom.
Jeff,
it turned out to be Nick.
I'm going to cut you. Plain and simple. I am going
You were like, have you ever heard Flanders
slit
scream
your fucking throat
on The Simpsons? That's what it was like.
Anyway.
Woke me up out of a dead sleep. Oh, that was great. Yeah, come up and have a cigar with us sometime, man.
Oh.
You're close.
Yeah, Jeff can buy it for you.
After that, absolutely.
Oh, my God.
That
Anyway. All right, well, I'd say thanks for the question, but whatever. Oh, my God.
That's karma for you putting all my goofy sound bites on the board.
That's
what that is.
Whatever. Moving on.
happening, boys? This is Barbells and Beers here.
Oh, that means we got like 8 questions.
Couple questions.
Love it.
Although none of them will beat Teddy's question from last week for sure.
We have a theme building.
To see if there's any updates on what you guys have been doing with the collective smoke that you can share. And a random one, how many chickens would it take to kill an elephant? And what was the scariest movie you saw as a kid that took you a little while to recover from?
I can answer
Smokey,
that.
my friends, congratulations on the 1-year anniversary. Here's to many more. Love the content. Love the soundboard. Keep it up. Bye.
So
Barbells and Beers.
Barbells and Beers. And he restrained himself. There's only 3 questions this time.
It's impressive.
I know. I love it. So let's start off let's go in order here. So the first question was obviously any updates regarding the collective smoke.
Yes.
There's been a series of contests that have been taking place since the initial announcement. There was the one that My Monthly Cigars did in conjunction with Martinez Cigars. And then that followed up with our contest, which, Jeff, I have the 8x10 in the car, and so we can finally get that autographed and get that sent out this weekend. And then then from there it went to Al and Melissa over at the Good Cigar, and they did their contest. They announced their winner on an episode of Down to the Nub. The guys at Down to the Nub, they had their contest. They announced their winner over at the Straight Cut, and then from there, the Straight Cut's doing their contest. And their contest may very well be over with by the time this episode drops.
Yeah.
And then from there, that leads into the big contest. And as for the big contest,
details to follow.
I think Nick and Dave would probably take out a hitman if I put out details on that.
Oh, who are you going to tell? Go. Fess up.
I'm just saying.
I know enough about it to be dangerous, and guys, you are going to want to enter this contest.
Let's just say it revolves a lot around the exclusive TPE cigar that I know that we have talked about, that Martinez is putting together.
That shall be unnamed.
The unnamed, unbanded, unknown cigar, and I know that's going to play into it. And let's just say you should be watching for details very, very soon, because this is, end of August, man. I mean, we're going to be coming out with details probably in the next couple of weeks, I would think, sometime early September about that.
Not only stay smoky, stay tuned.
Exactly.
Yep.
So as for how many chickens can take down an elephant.
Well, it only took one to get that one over at the zoo in St. Louis.
What?
There was a chicken that killed that elephant in St. Louis at the zoo.
I mean, I knew the elephant died, but I didn't know there was a chicken involved.
Well, that's what I heard.
Anyway, I mean, I will say, Jeff, it only takes one. I mean, if the elephant chokes on a chicken bone.
Yeah. Or it gets the bird flu.
Otherwise, I would say it would have to be a giant flock of chickens just pecking away. Because, I learned something recently.
Wait, is a giant... would like a large group of chickens, would that be like crows? Like, would that be a murder?
I mean, it could be a murder.
I don't know if it's taking out an elephant.
If it's taking out an elephant, it'd be a murder. I will say I learned something recently on a show that my wife was watching. She's into these like animal surgery shows, which is really it's really weird that this is a thing.
Very niche.
But yeah. But anyway, did you know that when they're doing surgery, they can't do surgery on elephants in the same way? Like, because the skin, it's so thick and it's so leathery that they can't when they try to seal up the hole that they use the incision. Yeah. When they try to seal up the incision, the skin won't allow for that, and it just stays open and it doesn't seal back up. So
festers. Yeah,
it's a whole problem. So surgery on elephants is apparently very complicated. So with that being said...
Is that where you have to employ the Ant-Man technology? And
I would think so. Yeah. Going through the butthole.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would think...
Back to the original question.
I would think that you would need an awful lot of chickens because, even if they're pecking, that hide is very, very thick. So you would need a lot of chickens.
It's kind of like the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. You have to kill it from the inside.
You do have to kill it from the inside.
Yeah.
And then as for the final question about a scary movie from your childhood that spooked you and it took you a while to get past, I'll let Jeff go ahead with that first.
Mr. Kata. Pick me.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I know exactly what movie you're going to mention.
Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah, the little Zulu doll.
Yes, that Zulu doll haunts me to this day. That little bastard, the necklace falls off, and all of a sudden she reaches for it under the couch, and it pokes her finger with that big long spear it's got.
Yeah.
And then it chases her around the house. And it ends up in the oven, and then I don't, it kind of falls off the rails there, but that thing scared the shit out of me. I was 12 when I watched it, and it haunted my dreams to this day.
I'm trying to think. I didn't watch a lot of scary movies as a kid. Mostly just, I'm not big into scary movies. I've just never really been. I like the old classic Universal horror. The Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney. Those ones. But more contemporary scary movies, I've never really been big into. I'm trying to think. There was one time, The Exorcist haunts me a lot. I mean, that
what happened in St. Louis?
That movie does
and it was a boy, not a girl.
When I've seen that movie does stick with me, but I've seen that mostly as either a teenager on up. I would say
the whole wing at that hospital still boarded off to this day.
I am aware.
Yeah.
So I would say as a kid though, there were two movies that my parents had on, and both of them caused me considerable amounts of stress.
Psychological damage, as it were.
Child's Play. Having one of your toys come to life and try
Chucky?
and kill you. Oh yeah, not so much Chucky as a
good guy doll.
individual, but as a concept that your toys come to life and try and kill you. That freaked with me. But then, have you ever seen the movie House?
Oh yeah,
yeah, that movie.
Now House 2 was really good, but it was more of a comedy.
Yeah,
that was a good movie.
Yeah, House was an issue.
Had Cliff Clavin show up. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. Which was the one that had was it the West? Because isn't it? It's a bunch of different. It's not one continuous story, isn't it? Like a bunch of different stories.
House 2 was the standalone story, to my knowledge.
Okay,
my remembrance.
All right. Well, anyway, the I just remember the first House. That movie kind of
didn't that have the greatest American hero in it, or was that?
I couldn't
2?
tell you. I haven't watched it since I was a dinky little kid because I remember it scared the bejesus out of me, and I've never gone back.
Now, I will tell you something. Nick and I, on one of our mandates, went to see a movie called, is it Hereditary?
Yes, Hereditary.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
That thing did some psychological damage to me.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere, man.
It wasn't how it was marketed. So you went into the theater thinking it was one thing. It was another.
Yeah, and we've talked about it on the show before. It's one of those movies that when you're first watching it, you're kind of sitting there going okay, what's the point?
Where's this going?
Where's this going? And then one thing happens.
And then it went there.
And it just goes way off the rails, right from there. And it's just whoa. And trust me, you'll know exactly what point I'm talking about when you see the movie.
The other movie that was kind of like that was, is it Cloverfield? It's the one where John Goodman's
feel like
got
we've
the
done
bunker.
This whole conversation.
We
before.
have, but it's been a year. We're circling back.
It's really not been a year, probably.
That's
since we've
one of
talked
those
about
movies.
This.
It's kind of the same with Hereditary, where it's one movie for the first act and a whole nother movie for the next act. It's like they shoved two things together, and that was how Heredity was.
Okay,
or Hereditary. Sorry,
it really wasn't. The first part of that movie was.
But I'm saying the first part of the
totally
movie
different. It
was set in one tone, and then one thing happens, and then it turns into something else.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it was almost like they squished the beginning of one movie and the end of another together.
Whereas Cloverfield, the one you're talking about with John Goodman, that was basically like an in-the-house, abductor story until it was about fucking aliens.
Exactly.
So, whatever. A little different, so.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's get on to our final question for this week's Ask the Boys.
Hey, Bishop Gator. Not really a question. This is Trent, better known as This Is My Cigar account on Instagram.
Trent.
And I was thinking about, after listening to Tuesday's episode, that Gator, what you may have been picking up and interpreting as gasoline on one of those cigars, could just be the ammonia if you're smoking it too fast. Just a thought. Have a good one. Stay safe and stay smoky.
You know what?
See, dude? There you go.
I bet he's exactly right. Because I do smoke
You
fast.
smoke way too fast. And especially that one cigar. And it may very well have even been the one that I at one point, remember, I referred to when you ashed, you had that point going.
I had a spear.
That's indicative of you smoking too fast and the filler not properly burning down with the rest of the cigar. And if that was the cigar that you got that burnt gasoline smell on, that would have potentially also been the issue.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is. You gave
what
yourself that problem.
I did. Well, I bet that's exactly what it was.
Then there you go.
The jogger's coming back by.
Oh, my God. Nothing creepy about this at all. Jeff, put the binoculars down. I mean, good God, man.
So messed up.
She's probably your neighbor of some sort. I mean, you don't want to be, like, creeping on that.
I'm not creeping. I just noticed when she ran by. It was delightful.
Okay. All right. Anyway. Well, folks, you can get your questions to ask the boys.
I've stayed 100 feet away. I'm the court order's in place.
Through the Cigar Pulpit hotline, area code 864-00000. And we definitely need your questions. Get them to us quickly.
Yes, we do. It's so fun. Love that music.
Oh, my God. Anyway, well,
I live for the music more than the questions. Is that wrong?
I can tell. Yeah. So, Jeff, why don't we give away some cigars?
Damn straight.
So we kind of neglected to do this.
We gave away
the Battle of the Budgets.
We gave away
episode.
4 on the anniversary episode.
We did. So, and I am still waiting to hear back from 2 of the individuals from that. I don't know though. Actually, by the time you hear this, you've missed it by a day. So hopefully you two got them. Got
but
back
we're
to
batting
me,
500 right now.
We are,
yep.
So we got that going for us. So anyway, this week we are going to be giving away another prize pack from Martinez Cigars. You're going to get a nice variety of their cigars, so you can give that line a try. And we want to thank Dave and Jesus over at Martinez for providing the prize packs. With that, how about we go ahead and, let me tell you how you can get signed up for this.
Yeah, for our, bi-yearly newsletter.
Anyway, go to our website, cigarpulpit.com. You can sign up to enter the contest by signing up for our newsletter, which, yes, I've only put out one, Jeff, but, the year's still going, so I could theoretically, I could get another one, and, whatever. I'm not blowing up people's inboxes, so.
Oh, no, not at all.
Anyway, you do it.
You know I'm not going to do it.
You do it.
You know I'm not going to do it.
I'm just saying, you're going to sit there and...
You're the ambitious one.
You're going to sit there and complain and criticize me and
everything.
Oh, no,
I'm going to make fun mercilessly.
You can do it. How about that? How about we just give you the project of the newsletter?
Well, wait, that means I get the list and I can sell it.
No, you just got to assemble the newsletter. I'll send it out.
Oh, no, I'll send it. Go ahead.
No, anyway.
Yeah, I'll be glad to do that.
All right, well... Our winner for this week is on the email newsletter list. So, with that being said, we need
drum roll, please.
We need to congratulate Jeffrey Witten.
Jeffrey Witten.
Jeffrey Witten.
Great first name.
You have to get back in touch with me by the following Monday after this show comes out. Just to send me an email.
You have 6 days.
You have 6 days. Send me an email at nick, N-I-C-K, at cigarpulpit.com. With the subject line, I'm the winner, and just give me your mailing address, and we will be glad to get these shipped out to you as soon as possible.
So while you're on that, how do people reach out to us on the other socials?
We're on Instagram at The Cigar Pulpit, as well as on Instagram at Naked Gator, N-E-K-K-I-D Gator.
It's my page.
We're also on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and you can always reach out to us through cigarpulpit.com. So, Jeff, it's now that time of the show, every Tuesday. Where we welcome our friend Larry the Mute for another one of his reviews of the factory machine-made stuff.
Hi, Larry.
How you doing, Larry? So Larry is pulling up a chair, and Larry today is going to be reviewing the Havana Honeys, little sweet things.
Yeah, I've had those.
I figured you did.
I have.
So they come in a nice little 2-pack, and he will be reviewing the Havana Honeys. So Larry, why don't you take it away and tell us about the Havana Honeys?
I'm just going to wait this one out.
But you didn't. You didn't.
This is ridiculous.
You're rude to Larry again. And once again, Larry's getting cut off. And now he's storming away.
You realize how crazy this is.
It's just one of those things. Yeah, Larry, you don't need to throw the chair. So, anyway. All right. Well, I'm telling you, man, at one point or another, this segment's going to have to end because he's just going to get pissed off at you and not going to want to come on.
But you realize there's no point to this.
Or theoretically, I could do his over the phone, then we could get the whole review in. Just saying. We could have him call in, and then that way.
That may be the most absurd thing you've ever said.
God. Anyway,
God.
Thanks, Larry. We appreciate it. Anyway.
Do we?
I did.
I mean, I like seeing him. I like hanging out with him.
But you're just addicted to him.
It doesn't make any sense on the show.
I don't know. Anyway.
You get that, right?
I think it's a perfectly fine segment.
Okay.
Anyway.
Bye, Larry. Oh, yep. I'm number 1.
Gonna tee me up for my monthly at some point here, and then we can do that and call this a day.
I kind of like to let you flounder.
You're a dick.
So, Nick, speaking of cigars, what's mymonthlycigars.com?
MyMonthlyCigars.com is a premium cigar subscription service where you can get boxes of cigars sent to your home every month. We get the Robusto box, which is 4 cigars for $30. They also have the Presidente box, which is 8 cigars for $50. Both the Robusto and Presidente boxes are covered under the MSRP guarantee, which states that the value of the cigars in the box is guaranteed to meet or exceed the price of the box. So I think for August, we're looking at like a $41 MSRP for the Robusto box.
Yeah, 41, 42, somewhere in that range.
But it's only $30, so you're saving $11, or you're saving $32 if you get that Presidente box.
Darn right.
And if you use offer code PULPIT, P-U-L-P-I-T, then that will get you free shipping on your first box or 20% off any of the items on their online store, because Nick over there at My Monthly, he's got a great online store with not just cigars that have been in the boxes previously and accessories, but he's also got other cigars. So check him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, too.
He is.
I like Nick Gervais. Don't tell him I said that.
Okay. I'm sure he won't hear this at any point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's too busy off doing other podcasts.
I know, right? He's making the circuit, starts with it and moves it on.
You know what? But he started here.
I mean, technically there was Martin Amaya.
Okay, fine. He didn't start
his YouTube reviews, but, whatever. I mean, We were very close second.
Gervais is a good cat, so do business with him.
I left my sandals in the sun, and they are very, very hot now.
In the sun. Mary.
God. Anyway. Jeff,
I can't believe you left me that open. You're just staring in disbelief.
Do you have anything else for the betterment of the cause here?
Oh, heavens no.
All right. Well,
we love you guys.
Final thought on my Casa Cuevas. I had the Habano Robusto. Fantastic cigar.
Yep.
Highly recommend it. Great flavor. Great construction. I have nothing but great things to say.
I'm always nervous when we're smoking a cigar like this, kind of blind with the manufacturer on the phone, because the last thing I ever want to do is crap on a cigar, in front of somebody.
Yeah.
And this cigar just met and exceeded the expectations. It was a great stick. He was absolutely right, too. It paired up with the coffee so nicely.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, you're not a coffee drinker.
No.
Which, in my mind, means you shouldn't be trusted. But I like coffee. I like cigars, and it paired up wonderfully.
And I didn't have an iced tea, so I didn't pair it with anything.
No, I got some kombucha here if you'd like some.
I don't want to drink your backwash kombucha.
It's good. This one's the Unity by GT's, and it's actually cherry, coconut, and lemongrass. Very refreshing.
All right, then. Well, anyway, unless you have anything else.
Should people stay smoky now?
Yeah. Everybody, this has been another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. God, I'm ready for you to go to Florida. This has been another sermon from the Cigar.
Tomorrow.
This has been another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm Nick.
I am the Gator.
The Gator now.
The Gator, yeah.
Okay.
We're taking it up a notch. One thing we didn't talk about?
What's that?
Our cigars are going to be out so soon.
Yeah, a couple weeks,
We've
guys.
been working on the band, guys. It's so
we
exciting.
We have been working on the band. It's been a process.
It has.
And
it's been fun.
And that's the thing. We were talking with Luis Cuevas about the bands and everything. I mean,
what a nice guy.
Well, I agree. But there's a lot that go into band artwork. And so, when you're smoking these things, take a look at the band.
I'll tell you something.
It's a lot of effort that goes into that.
We're putting in the man hours.
We are.
And driving David Martinez is absolutely insane.
Well, they wouldn't have put those lions on that first band. I would have not had a problem.
I just wanted gators.
But they put those goofy-looking lions. Anyway.
It was like something out of Siegfried and Roy.
There won't be any lions on the band.
No, there's no lions.
No lions on the band. Anyway.
That should be the exclusive that we give away is one with that one band.
Yeah, but then we'd have to print that one band.
That's true, and it would cost thousands to print one band.
One band, right? Exactly. Anyway, this has been another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm Nick.
I'm Gator.
Everybody stay safe and stay smoky.
Hey, okay, I got a joke for you.
Oh, God.
Horse walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Hey, why the long face?"
You know, I'm pretty sure everybody's heard that. In fact, you may have even told that on the show before.
Likely.
Probably.
I told the moth joke the other day. It was gold.
Anyway.
Stole that from Super Dave.
Yeah, I know.
Bye, Nick.
Bye.